Alright, so this is going to be a less edited video, a little more lazily made, I guess. But I built this thing. I think it's pretty cool. I wanted to show off the design and walk through it. Basically, this is a binary counter sort of thing with a, you can add multiple to it. Like this is on page 11 right now. So if I hit the add button or note block, this is 11 in binary. Quick binary explanation. It's similar to the decimal system, the normal 1 to 10. So like with normal decimal, you would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count up to 9, and then carry over once that fills up. It's just exactly like that, except you only have ones and zeros to work with. So it starts at 0, 1. Now that's full, you reset that, carry over, now it's 1, 0, so on. And you can just add up all of those values for the final amount. So what I've got here is binary for 11. You can tell because that's 1 plus 2. This would be 4, but it's off. And then plus 8. So that's 8, 2, 1, 11. And that's because I put in 11 here. So basically it's a counter that allows for mass adding using signal strength, I guess. You can also just increment it with a quick button. You can reset it right there, and that resets it to 0. So I just want to walk through this little contraption I made because I thought it would be a good example of different redstone techniques and mechanics. Starting with this thing, walking through it step by step. When you increment it. When you increment it, it just runs a signal along here. I'm using note blocks and observers because that just makes it really easy to control my pulses, because every time I click this, it's a 1 tick pulse, a 1 redstone tick pulse through that observer into whatever's behind it. And I can just, if I need something slightly longer, like 2, 3, 4 redstone ticks, I can just take a repeater adjusted to that delay and pull that out. Otherwise, it's just easy and convenient, nice big click area for the note block. But that just sends a signal around here to the back here and powers this block. That sends a signal over here, but that does not matter because this is another input that's not hooked up to anything. It would do something with this and this, but those don't actually do anything. The reason I'm powering this block is for this. It will toggle this copper bulb, because what a copper bulb does is every time it's powered, it toggles its state. And what you can do with that, you can pull a comparator output from that to check whether it's on or off. Now, another convenient thing is the way binary counting up works in binary. It will just toggle this, and here, another demonstration. If I toggle that, all these turn on. But if I look at the inverse of this, this is all zeros, and when I power this, every time I power it, you may notice a certain pattern emerging. That pattern is upwards counting in binary. Basically, this is our 0 state, and then if I add 1, it goes here. Then if I add 1, that's 1 plus 1, which in binary is a 0 that with a carryover of 1, similar to like 5 plus 5 in decimal, how you get a 0 and a 1 over here. Then if I just keep doing that, it continues adding over, basically. So with this, I can repeatedly power this block here, and it will count up in binary. Because what we've got here, in essence, if you just pay attention to the yellow, is what we have over there. We've got the copper bulb and the comparators pulling out from them, and our output here. Now, looking at the lime green stuff quick, that is our reset circuit, basically just wiping it across. The way I handle the reset is I just power this line up here, activate all these pistons. I actually have a example thing over here. The piston will push the copper bulb down here, and if the copper bulb is on, the comparator will turn on, power this block. It doesn't affect anything up here because this comparator is just here pulling out from here for that. But it does turn on this powered rail. It turned on this powered rail. The observer saw that and spit out a signal into this and turned it off. Now, it only did that because it was actually turned on. If I do something now, it won't turn back on because it's already off. The comparator isn't going to do anything. And I need to do this. I can't just like funnel in a signal from the side here, because do you see this red dot in the middle of some of these? That is because it is currently being powered by the one next to it. And it does that because, you know, it toggles when you power it, but then you still need to unpower it if you want to toggle it again. Because of that, I needed to either turn this off and remember it was on or something or whatever, or I could just move it down, turn it off down here, and then bring it back up. So I went with that. These repeaters are here to mostly just give it that nice little animation. I think that looks pretty nice. So that's the main reason I have repeaters here, but because if I replace these with a redstone line, it'll work just fine, but it's not quite as cool, in my opinion. So I'll put my repeaters back. I don't have any repeaters on me. I'll put my repeaters back right here. So that's the reset and the increment taken care of, but what about the mass add sort of thing I've got going on? So to explain this, I'll just run through the process. When this is clicked, the observer sees that, powers this block, and hits this trapdoor. This trapdoor is actually attached to this wall, but because of this is a decently useful technique, if you have a wall positioned like this, where this middle one is in its thin state, but then you like put a piston or a trapdoor or something over here, you can toggle it to send a signal down and have that picked up by an observer. Now that observer is powering this block, powering that dust, and spitting a signal over here into this block. That temporarily pushes this piston upwards so that this comparator can actually see the lectern you're messing with out front, and it'll push a signal into here. Now, there's going to be a lot to explain quick, so bear with me. When it sees whatever signal you push in, it'll come around this bend and give it like, say this, whatever you put in here is n, a variable. Whatever you push through is going to come around to this bend, and right here, it is going to equal n minus 1 signal strength. Then, when this goes back down, it stops receiving power over here, and it will count down by 1 every single time it, like this signal goes through the loop. Here. If I set up a quick demonstration, I believe I went over this sort of thing in my comparator video, but you'll see that this is block is currently powering this dust to strength 15, so this would be strength 14. Every time it goes around, it loses 1 signal strength until it turns all the way off. I am using that over here and picking it up with an observer, because every time the signal strength ticks down, the observer can see that and pulse this, counting upwards, like I went over with the red line here. Now you may be wondering, hey, this was n minus 1, shouldn't it only pulse, like, do n minus 1? Like, if I put 15 in there, shouldn't it only pulse 14 times with this observer? And no, because it sees it go from 0 to 14, that's 1, and then it goes from 14 all the way down to 0 again. So that's 14 to 13, 13 to 12, 12 to 11, so on. So that's an initial 1 for starting up, and then n minus 1. That gets you a total of the original number you put in. Then from there, I was basically just debugging it, making small improvements, because if I were to take out this torch, not take out that torch, take out that dust, and put in 15, you'll see that this thing is flickering pretty fast, and it actually burned out there. So this is supposed to be turned on, but because the torch was flickering on and off and on and off, it burned out, and now it's just dead for a bit until it's just dead for a bit. Oh, well, in this case, it's actually supposed to be off, but if I were to do it fresh, of course it doesn't do it this time. Okay, so torch off, but this is not on, so this should be on. And that, see, it just came back on. And that is a problem. So, because this first one flickers so fast, I would basically just said, hey, while this thing is going, so this is just on the back of that block there, while this is going, activate this purple line, hold this piston in place. Like, because when this is all active, this pulls up and won't read whatever's going in. Because it's not reading anything, this torch is not flickering on, off, on, off, on, off. It's not going to burn out. And then I can just re-extend it at the end to have it actually read everything again. So, what that looks like, that's flickering. But only when the piston pushes back the block is this thing going to actually display the value there. Now, one final issue I took care of is, hey, because this is n minus 1? What if n equals 1? What if I just put the 1 in here and push the button? That won't actually do anything because this will pull a signal strength, push it here, that's going to be 1. And this will pull a signal strength of 1, push it here, that'll be 1. This won't actually get powered. And yes, that is what happened. I actually have the original design over here. This wasn't originally adding, this was originally setting, so I just powered the reset with an observer. But if you look at this, if I reset, just for clarity, and then I set it, you'll notice that did not get set to 1. I can set 2 just fine. See, that's 2. But you cannot set 1 here. And that is because what I just said. It only has a signal strength of 1 going around, and this doesn't change at all. I think I did something fun to work with that. So, like I said, when this is pulled up, or pushed up, this comparator sees that and pushes a signal strength over here. Now, this dust is powered, and it's powering the block below it to the same signal strength. So I can pull a comparator out of that block and push it into a comparator here in subtract mode. And basically calibrate a system here so that it only activates if this signal strength is less than 2. And because this only pushes up at the same time, like slightly after this thing pushes up, the thing does not trigger on 0. It's gotta be at least something here. So this only triggers when the signal strength is 1. Which is why I can add 1 using the blue line. Of course, I could always just use the red line, but I figured it was a good functionality to have, at least. So, that's the thing I made today. Hopefully I explained it well. Again, as usual, if I explain something poorly, please ask questions, and I will do my best to answer. I guess this is just evidence that I do actually know something about Redstone sometimes, because I've been sharing pretty basic information about everything so far, so I wanted to prove my worth, I guess. This is my Redstone testing world. I've got some wacky stuff over there. But again, questions, ask them. If you think this is cool, I would also appreciate some appreciation, I guess. And hopefully this can act as inspiration or something. In the end, just make sure you have fun doing some Redstone.